Financial Freedom, and my name is Kyler Nathaniel. So in this series, we've talked about a lot of different things when it comes to our finances. We've talked about how to budget our money. We've talked about how to build credit. We've even talked about how to repair our credit. And in that repairing your credit video, one thing I talked about was we were going to tackle this credit card debt and how to overcome this credit card debt so that it doesn't become a part of one of our daily stressors of life, right? So, with credit card debt, it's so easy to get approved for those credit cards, and it's even easier to start racking up that debt fast on those credit cards. And I'm here to help you so that you can work your way out of that credit card debt so that it doesn't take over your life. So, there are two methods that we're going to take a look at today in tackling that credit card debt. It's going to be the avalanche method, and the second one is going to be the snowball method. Whichever method you choose, you will find that you will get some great effectiveness in it in tackling this credit card debt. So let's dive in. So first thing, let's get an understanding of what these credit card companies want us to do with this debt that we get. So in all of your credit card statements, you always see a section of the minimum payment due. That's the minimum payment that you have to make sure that your account doesn't go into default or have any late payment charges or anything like that. That's what those credit card companies want you to pay because that's the way they get you to pay the most interest. Let's take a look at an example. So if you see here, we've got three different lines of credit. We've got a card at $2,500 with 25% interest rate, a card with $2,000 at an 18% interest rate, and a card with $1,000 at a 13% interest rate. And this totals $5,500 of our total debt that we have. Now, each card is going to have a different minimum payment, and each company calculates your minimum payment differently as well. So let's say this first card has our minimum payment at $50, the second one is at $40, and the third one is at $20, right? Now, let's just take a look at what happens if we just pay $50 every month as our minimum payment. We end up paying off this balance of $2,500 for 63 months. And we pay a total in our interest of almost $2,000. That is $500 less than what we initially owed on the card, right? Crazy, right? That's how they get us. Same thing here. We pay a minimum payment of $40 a month. It's going to take us 50 months to pay off this card. And we're going to pay $1,000 in interest. And then we can see the same exact gimmick here on the third card. $20 minimum payment. We're paying 57 months. And we pay a total of interest of $342. Let's take a look at this at even a bigger scale. Total, we're going to pay on these cards for about 5 years. That's like a car loan. That's a typical car loan that you'll get as a 5-year term. And you're going to pay a total in interest of $3,300 roughly. Now let's total it with the actual debt that we owed on it, which was $5,500. That brings us to about $8,800 total that we're going to pay towards these cards. This right here, this $3,300, is all strictly profit for these credit card companies. So that's why I'm going to show you the avalanche method and the snowball method so that this is not coming out of your pocket. So first, let's take a look at the avalanche method and let's see how to effectively use it. So first, what the avalanche method is the avalanche method is a credit card repayment strategy, which means you tackle your highest interest debt first, and then you continue to pay the minimum payments on the other debts that you owe. Because if you remember to the last example that I gave you, you remember those interest rates, right? How quickly they can add up. So let's say that we have a budget every month of paying $500 towards all of our debts. And we know that on this $2,000 card, we have a $40 minimum payment, and on the $1,000 card, we have a $20 minimum payment. So let's go ahead and subtract that from our $500 budget. That's going to leave us with $440 that we can put towards the highest interest debt that we owe. So let's say we're making $440 in a monthly payment now. What we're going to see is that it's only going to take us 7 months to pay off that debt as long as we don't put any more on that card. and we're going to only end up paying $215 in interest. Remember, it was almost $2,000 when we're just making the minimum payments. Then what we do after we can cross that one off the list is we add that $440 to the minimum payment that we're making on this one, which is $40, and we start making them a payment of $480. Now what that does is it only takes us 5 months to pay off this $2,000 balance. And we only pay almost $90 in interest. Remember, it was almost $1,000 in interest with just the minimum payment. Now, what we do now is we take that $480 that we've been paying on this one, and we add the minimum payment of this $1,000 card, and we start making a $500 payment towards this $1,000 balance. It only takes us 2 months to pay off that debt, and we only pay about $18 in interest. On the minimum payment example, it was a little bit over $300 in interest. Now let's take a look at the big picture again, right? In total, we're going to pay about a year on all 3 of these cards, give or take, because we're making payments on these other ones while we're making the big interest payments first, right? So it's going to be about a year that it's going to take for us to pay off these debts. And we're only going to pay $323.80. On the minimum payment example, we were paying over $3,000 in interest. So you see how much money we're saving just by using this method? In the snowball method, what we do is we tackle the smallest debt first while we continue to make the minimum payment on the higher debts that we owe. So let's take a look at an example here. So we already know that we've got our $500 a month budget set aside to pay off the debts that we owe, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract the 2 minimum payments on our higher debts that we owe on to figure out what we can put towards that lower debt that we owe. So we know that we owe a $40 minimum payment on our $2,000 balance and a $50 minimum payment on our $2,500 balance. So if we subtract that from that $500, it's going to leave us $410 to put towards this $1,000 balance that we owe on, because that's the smallest one that we owe. So when we put that $410 towards it, it ends up taking us just 3 months to pay off that balance. And we only pay $20 in interest on it. And then what we do next is we take this $410 and we add it towards the $40 minimum payment that we're paying on this $2,000 balance, and we start paying $450 on that balance. And it takes us 5 months to pay it off. And we only pay $95 in interest. And then we do the same thing again. We take that $450 amount and we add the minimum payment for the $2,500 of $50 towards it, and we pay $500 a month. And it takes us 6 months to pay off that balance, and we only pay $193 in interest. So if we add it all together to get that big picture again, what we see is we're paying on those debts for about a year, give or take a month or two. And we only pay $309 in interest. Now, this amount of interest is pretty close to the avalanche method. We paid about $320 in interest on the avalanche method. So it really all depends on what works for you and what you can do. First, you need to know what you can pay every month towards your debts. Second off, it's what you like to see. The thing about the snowball method that makes it great is you see a quick return. You're seeing you're paying off these credit cards faster, and so it makes it a lot more gratifying to keep going on with the process. The avalanche method is a little bit slower. You don't see as quick results, so it's a little bit harder to stick with that one. But both of them are going to take discipline to not put any more on the cards, to stick with paying this much every month towards these cards. But if you do it, the rewards are going to be great, because what you're going to have is you're going to be saving so much money. You're going to be saving over $3,000 in interest, which is money you can put in your savings. You can put towards an investment. And that's what we want, is we want to be able to save money to make it work for us, because that's what I'm trying to teach you here at the Building Blocks to Financial Freedom. So again, you find what method works for you and then tackle it. We're going to have some more videos on the way on how to tackle this credit card debt, how to deal with credit, and how to overcome it. And we're going to have some more on how to make our money work for us. So please hit that like button, drop a comment, subscribe to the page because we got plenty more content on the way. My name is Kyler Nathaniel, and this is the Building Blocks to Finance.